guys, welcome to this episode of When Spirit Talks. This week we're chatting with Jaclyn Johnston about maniFASting, expediting your manifestation at all levels, and Jaclyn even shares some tips for future authors who might be thinking about publishing their dream book. It was interesting because during the recording, Spirit came through to share how Jaclyn's departed loved one is coming through for her in that present moment and for the future. I also pulled a card of the episode during our spirit segment and shared how that card related to Jaclyn specifically, as well as the message it had for everyone else who's listening. Jaclyn is the #1 best-selling author of the Don't Feel Stuck books, creator of the brand and podcast Manifest It, and owner of the #1 best-selling publisher, Manifest It Publishing. So get ready to take your manifestations to a whole new level, and let's get started. Hey Jaclyn, welcome to When Spirit Talks. How are you today?
I'm good, Stefanie. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you because, first of all, you made my dream, even though it wasn't a dream that I had all my life, but my dream of putting this book and helping me format it and get it out there into the world. So I appreciate you. And I wanted to have you on so we can talk about your story and everything that you've been through and how you're helping people now. So if we can talk about how you got started on your journey and this path to become the creator of the brand Manifest It.
Yes, but before I do that, I have to give you props because you're a #1 best-selling author. So you just totally like not dumbed down, but you were so modest about about your author dreams and publishing your book. And I'm in my head going, she's a #1 best-selling author. Like we can't forget that.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, of course. So manifest it. Yeah. In 2017, I myself wanted to publish a book, and I had wanted to publish a book for a lot of my life. I'm 41 right now, and I just did not think I was good enough to do it. And then I don't know what came over me, but I did it. I think it was because I was working on this experiment that I had started when I was working in academia with a physicist. And I took about 10 months and I just did this experiment on myself, and I was able to manifest 99% of everything I could think of. And so I put it into a book, and I thought, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? Nobody buys the book, or people read it and they're just horrible reviews. Oh, well, right? But I had no idea that by publishing this book, it would go to #1 bestseller. And from then on, Manifest It, the brand bloomed, and I started making merchandise and also online consulting and so much more. But that's how the brand Manifest It came into play in 2017.
That is such an incredible story. And I love how you were just so brave to just be like, okay, screw it. What's the worst that can happen? Because I know a lot of people, and including myself, like it took me forever to even build up the courage to do it. So I love the fact that you were just like, screw it. What's the worst that can happen? And then you became a #1 best-selling author and then created this huge, amazing publishing company all by yourself. And I just find it like awe-inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I started the publisher Manifest It Publishing in 2022. So it's been about 2 years now. And so far, all the books we published have been #1 bestsellers. So I'm really excited for the authors, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to help other women writers and male too, although I haven't had any male inquiries, but anyone, male or female, achieve their author dreams. And so that's why I started Manifest It Publishing a couple of years ago.
That's amazing. And if you had to identify one key moment that kind of sparked your experiment to start this manifestation, what would it be?
I, that's a great question. And as far as sparking it goes, it was me thinking I'm going to run an experiment on myself. And, I don't have to tell anybody about it. I'll just do it myself. No one's going to know. It's my own little secret between me and the universe or the angels and God. And I decided that through my experimentation, if I could combine physics, like physical laws, with psychology in the use of cognitive behaviorism and training your brain and using it in a way that I call manifast, which means manifest faster. It's me using the tool of writing it down and writing it in the specific mesh of those two, of like the physical laws and your brain through psychology. And that's how I was able to manifest so quickly and manifest so much so quickly, because I manifested a lot even in those 10 months, but I still use those methods today. And even though we are human and life is ups and downs, it's not like this, let me figure out the formula and then everything is just amazing from here on out. That's not how the energy in the universe is made up of. So it's it's really a lifelong lesson of learning to surrender, but there's a method that I use that I call manifest. And it's through this way of writing it down and how you write it down and what you say. And yeah, so that spark was me, working with the physicist and being in the science area, even though I was doing mathematical stuff, I was doing accounting, but it was just observation, questioning, and then saying, yeah, again, like, what's the worst that could happen? I don't tell anybody about this, and nothing happens.
Amazing. I like how you blend the physical side with the spiritual manifestation side. And I was going to ask you, what does manifest mean? But I love how you explain that, the manifesting faster. And I do have your book and I love it. How do you work with people to help them release and surrender? Like you mentioned, the surrendering. And I think that piece is huge because I think a lot of times what's preventing us from manifesting and receiving all of the things we want is not surrendering. So, do you have a favorite tip from one of your best-selling books that you can give the listeners so that they can start doing something at home?
Mhm. Yeah, so I have a couple of things, um, just to kind of put it into perspective in a different way. So one perspective is, in this day and age, a lot of times we're in a hustle, we're trying to get things done, life is so busy, and we use the microwave to warm up our food. So the same energy that is used to heat up the food faster in the microwave is the same particles of energy that's like around you in the universe. And there's so many more elemental particles. And so I always tell people, if you can reframe a possibility of something not only happening, but happening quickly, if your food can be heated up quickly, if you can pop popcorn from a kernel into this fluffy snack, then why can't you experience whatever or whoever it is that you want to experience in your life? So there's that perspective.
I love that. That microwave. Oh, I never thought of it that way, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it like ties in the visual piece. Like you can literally see how it works
Mm-hmm.
and understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because you put the popcorn kernels in there and you expect it to pop a certain way and you expect it to be ready. And I mean, I know I'm the type of person where I'll stand next to the microwave and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm like waiting for it to pop so I can smell it and I'm getting excited over it because yeah, the snack's about ready and it's gonna be yummy. So that yeah, that's one perspective. And another one is I always tell people either exactly what you want manifest or so much better. And it's usually so much better. And I put this perspective into the air for you to receive if you so choose. You you're like, I don't know, you're going about your day and then you think, I really want a cupcake. And you know there's a bakery around the corner. And the cupcake you're really wanting is a specific cupcake. Like, I don't want just chocolate. I want Godiva chocolate. And I want it with, I don't know, we'll say like some cherry puree on top and then a real cherry on top, something just specific. And you know there's a bakery around the corner. So you go over to that bakery and you don't see it. And then you just select a cupcake that you settle for. Well, that's not really manifesting what you want. And so I always say, that doesn't mean you're not going to get that Godiva cupcake with the cherry puree and the real cherry on top. It's just maybe it's just at a different bakery and maybe it's a little farther away, but that's okay. And maybe you have a meeting to get to in 15 minutes, but you don't have time to go get it now. But that doesn't mean you can't get it. You can still get it later after your meeting's over. And so I always tell people, just because you see something that is kind of sort of similar to what you want, it doesn't mean you should just accept it. Now, if you choose that that is what's best for you, that's your choice. But you can also choose to say, you know what? It's not exactly what I was wanting. So I'm going to just trust the process some more. And I'm not going to worry about when or how, and I'm just going to surrender to it and let it happen. And usually, I would say 95% of the time in my experiences, you manifest something much better than you had in your head. So that Godiva cupcake with the cherry puree and the real cherry on top is not only in your hand, but you didn't have to pay for it and you weren't expecting that. It's just trusting. And it, like I said, it's a lifelong lesson to train yourself to surrender and remind yourself over and over again, oh yeah, I got to surrender, because if I worry, then I'm just going to get more things to worry about. It's a lifelong process.
It's one of those things that you have to be like conscious about in a way, but also then let it go, because I feel like a lot of times when you think of manifesting and then it not working, it's because we're holding so tightly to the outcome and we're trying to like control all of the energy and situations leading up to it. But if we just surrender, like you said, and the divine timing piece is huge. I feel like divine timing is sometimes everything. And just like you said, maybe in that moment you wanted that specific cupcake, but it wasn't the right time. Doesn't mean that you won't get it. It just might mean that it'll come at a later date. I do it a lot with parking spots. I feel like when I'm driving somewhere where the parking is insane, I always, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to find an amazing parking spot. I'm going to find an amazing parking spot. And like you said, 95% of the time, it does happen. What do you feel like is the most common thing that blocks people from manifesting?
The belief that they themselves deserve it.
Yeah. Is there anything that people can do, or is there something that works for you to kind of get over that so that people can start to get it moving?
Listen, I'm a human being, so I have it too. I mean, I'm for example, I manifested my ideal relationship within those 10 months that I did this experiment, and it didn't work out. 4.5 years later, he broke up with me, and it devastated me. Like, I really thought I was going to spend the rest of our lives together, and it it broke me, like ripped the rug out from under me. And I thought and I still, even now, I'm not in another relationship now. It's been a couple of years, but I still have moments where I I find myself talking to myself saying, "Oh, well, I don't deserve to be in, this type of relationship that I now want." It's a little different. It's mainly the same, but a little different. Um, but I think this is something that us as humans, we've been conditioned most of our lives to fit into molds. And so breaking those cognitive habits of what you think you deserve it's hard. And even when you get in alignment and you stay in alignment of what your soul wants and how your soul is saying, no, no, let me out, and you let it out. And even if you're just manifesting like crazy, you just get all these wonderful things, which I've experienced in spurts as well. You're still going to have moments as a human being where, whether it's society or family or just old mental habits, will want to reel you back in and say, and no, 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 remember, XYZ happened and it turned out this way and it wasn't what you wanted. And so you think, well, maybe I'm just not worthy of it. I don't deserve it. And again, it's that choice that we all get to make, because we all have the same thoughts at some point in time, every single one of us, but it's a choice on what we choose to focus on. And if it happens for somebody around you, then that means it can happen for you too. And so you just have to, practice shifting your focus. And it can be hard on some days, and sometimes it'll take weeks or months. But again, it's not like a switch where you just learn this formula and you're just ready to go for the rest of your life. It's not like that. That's not how the energy in the universe is made up. I mean, it's literally chaotic all the time, and it's colliding with itself all the time. So it's that, yeah, that believing like I deserve this, and if somebody else can get it, so can you. And it's that, okay, you don't have to, swing over to the other side of your belief system right away. It's just the compound effect of daily reminders and daily focus, and even just 5 minutes at a time, just to check in with your brain, check in with your mindset. Am I reeling down this path I don't want to go to? And setting alarms in your phone throughout the day to kind of like stop and, yeah, take an inventory of your brain. What am I doing? Am I focusing on this, or can I focus it on this way? It's just the compound effect. It's like learning to tie your shoes or ride a bike, or even learning that apps on your phone when you get a brand new phone. How does it function? It's making a choice to learn and, focus, and then remind yourself, oh no, I have to, on my new phone, I have to go to this app in order to do this. And it's just the compound effect. And that's how people learn, and that's how they retain information. It's the same thing when it comes to manifesting and changing your belief system of whether or not you're worthy or deserving, or if it's even possible.
You put that so well. And I think the learning to ride a bike example is fantastic, because I think that a lot of people kind of get stuck when they try something new and it's not really working out the way that they expected, dealing with that failure in a way, even though it's not really failure, but I feel like humans, we categorize it as failure, and then it makes them stop. And then they're like, I can't do it. And we give our power away to what our perceived failures are. But really, if we just kept going and kept trying, we got it. We'll learn it. We're going to do it, but it might be a different journey, just like you said, for other people than it is for us, and just focusing on our own journey and how far you've come. And I love the reminder for using the alarms. I use alarms for literally everything because I have so much going on in my life. And if I don't set an alarm on my phone, I'll forget. But I love that idea of using the alarm as a way to kind of refocus and reconnect with yourself and your own thoughts, because just like you said, we're so busy and we often don't have time to really think about our thinking. So if we set that time and we build it into our schedule, even if it's only a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is, even just 5 seconds, just that alarm going off and be like, check in with yourself, I think it would really help.
Yeah, because if your brain can go on autopilot to think on autopilot and function the way it currently is doing, it can also build a new memory. It's like memory foam, for your mattress. Like it can memorize a different way to think on autopilot. It's all about training yourself and using the compound effect. But yeah, as kids, we're so determined to learn how to tie our shoes and ride a bike. And as adults, we're determined to learn the skills at our new job, or learn about our new phone. So it's we're a lot harder on ourselves than other people are. And again, I think that has to do with how we're raised and brought up in society, because everything is instilled in us from a young age that there's competition. And if you don't excel, then you're not good. And so I just want to flip it and say, okay, well, since everything's a competition, then let's train your brain to think the way you want to think, so that way you manifest, more easily. And it's not that you can't do it, you can do it. It's just you have to practice at it.
100%. I kind of want to go into the whole publishing aspect that you do, because I've had a lot of people, like after I published the book with you, them saying, oh, I always had this idea for this book, but I don't know where to start. For people at home who might be thinking about dabbling into becoming an author or writing poems or whatever it is, but publishing a book at some point, do you have some starting points or starting tips for them?
Yeah. And if you're wanting to write a book or write a blog or write a series of articles, it's all kind of around the same thing in terms of how to get yourself organized and get it down. I always tell people the magic happens during the editing process. So don't worry about doing anything in a sequential order as far as chapters go, or even if it's a series of blogs or articles. Don't worry about making sure everything is in sequential order. Just sit down and just get it out. I like to call it like type vomit. Just kind of get it out, whether it's perfect or not, that's not the point. Just get it out, get the content out. What is it that, if it's nonfiction, what is it that you want to help somebody else solve? So that way they have a challenge and they go and they read your article or your blog or your book, and you're going to help them solve this challenge. So identify what the challenge is, and yeah, basically, how are you going to help them solve it, and how are they going to feel after it's solved? And then for fiction, if you're writing a story, it's kind of like the hero's journey, whether the main character is one person or a collective group of characters. What are they hoping to be as they go throughout their journey in the story? And what are the challenges they're going to face and how will they overcome them? And at the end of the book, like, what is the message that your reader can take away from the fictional story and their journey of becoming their own hero? So it's more about thinking in terms of, I'm going to identify this, I'm going to help them overcome it, and then they're going to feel this way. And that's what I always tell people to focus on whenever they're, thinking, how am I going to get this out into a Word document, or how can I organize myself so that way I can sit down and get started. And even if you're typing for 10-15 minutes a day, doing that every day will add up, and then you'll just, before you know it, it'll just be flowing out of you, and you'll probably start craving to get to it on a daily basis, just so you can, because you feel the ball rolling and you just want to get it done. And it's not like a dreadful thing, it's more like my creative brain is on fire and it's lit up, and you just start craving it because it feels so good to not only do it, but to get it done. And then you have this product that you can edit. And the editing is where all the magic happens to make it polished and perfect in the way that you want your message to be, whether it is fiction or nonfiction, and whether it's in a book, a blog, or article.
When I was writing my book, you were such a huge support system for me, and you were just so helpful in every single aspect. So I really love that, and I would love for you to share how you help other people with that publishing process, so that if anyone wants to contact you to get their book out there, what would it look like?
So we have a full service publishing service, maniFAST Publishing, and it's about 8 weeks. And we basically edit. We take your finished draft. I call it a draft, a rough draft, or the draft manuscript, and we edit. I have an editor. She's the same editor who has edited all of my own books, and the authors so far who have published under the publisher that went to number one as well. So it's the same editor. She goes through, she edits everything over the course of 8 weeks. And in the meantime, I work with the author to get their author platform up and running, because it is kind of a nerve-wracking thing to think, oh, I'm going to be a published author. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? How do I get there? So you work with me on weekly meetings as well as through emails and messages. We get your author platforms up and going with Goodreads as well as Amazon, BookBub, and social media pages, things like that. And then I answer any of the questions that you have along the way while the editor is editing your manuscript. And then I work with the author to make sure that we call it the covers, because there's the front cover and then the back cover. But we work together to bring your cover together. So then that way, when we give it to the designer, he formats it and designs the cover to basically bring it to life for the paperback as well as for the electronic book. But we do that together. And then also we write your author bio. So that way, when we get your author platform up and running digitally, you have that everywhere. And so then that way it syncs better with Google as it crawls through things once your book gets published. But yeah, during those 8 weeks, it actually goes by really quickly. And in the beginning, everyone's nervous, which is completely understandable. But I've published 3 books so far for my own books, and then I published 3 books for other people, and it's the same group. So like, we've done this, we know what we're doing, and we're here to help. And I'm always here to help answer questions. And that's basically what happens over the course of 8 weeks. But if you don't want to do the full publishing service, we do have a la carte bespoke packages. So if you just want editing, we have that. If you just want formatting, we have that. If you just want consulting, you can do hourly consulting with me. It just, depends on your needs, but we have a lot of different things to choose from.
I know that you help me stay centered and organized, and you help me with all of the technical stuff that I wasn't even thinking of, which actually also transferred to the business side of things with my own business. So, yes, definitely check Jaclyn out. And before we get into the spirit segment, I know you're doing a Hollywood film soon and you're being credited in it. So, can you share a little bit more about how you manifested that?
Yeah, back when I was doing that experiment on myself in 2017, I was helping to work on a film that was being done through Hollywood, and I wasn't expecting to be credited in that film, but I was, which was I mean, that was like totally was not manifesting that, by the way. That was part of the 95% is so much better than you think it would be. I was just so excited to help in the way that I could because it was a short film, but it had Tilda Swinton narrating it. And if you don't know who Tilda Swinton is, she does a lot of sci-fi films. She was I think the Ice Witch in Narnia. I forget what the character is for the Ice Witch, but um, she's that. And then she's been in a lot of sci-fi films, but she's one of my favorite actresses. And so when I heard she was narrating the film, I was like, yes. And then George Lucas's music company did the music for it. And so I was not expecting that. But that again, 95% of the time, it's so much better. And so now I am working on a film. It's still being filmed. It's a Springsteen documentary that is Bruce Springsteen about his fans. And it's I wasn't sure if I was going to be in the film, but apparently I am in the film as well because we did filming for it in April, and I'm going to help co-produce it. So I will be credited and in the film for when it's supposed to come out in 2025.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
Incredible. Amazing. Now we're going to dive into the spirit segment. So, what is one thing that you always include in your daily routine to help you stay spiritually grounded and balanced that might help other people do the same?
So I'm going to tell on myself. I don't do it every day, 365 days out of the year. I do it most days. I would say about 75% of the time, just because I have so much I'm juggling. But I do make time to do my manifest journaling, and I do it for at least 5 minutes. So most of the time I do it for about 20 to 30 minutes in each day just because I just get going and I just want to keep writing, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to experience this and I'm gonna do this, and I just go. But there are some days where I only do it for 5 minutes, and that's totally fine. But I make sure that I get myself writing because it helps me to organize my thoughts, but also my feelings, and reset my brain when I'm having a tough day or I'm really stressed out about something. It just kind of helps to reset it and put it back into alignment. And then another thing that I would say I do maybe probably 85% of the time is I make sure I get enough sleep.
That's me. I need 8 hours or I'm a cranky mess. If I have less than 8, I need like 3 cups of coffee and I am so irritable.
If I can get between 7 to 8, I'm good. But anything less than 7 hours, I get sick. Like I get sick to my stomach. I get headaches. I get physically sick if I don't get at least 7 hours. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, because our energy is like so depleted when we're not sleeping well. And because our energy is depleted, everything goes out of whack. You're more susceptible to getting sick and having less patience. So, yes, I agree 100% with that sleep tip. And what is your favorite story regarding your connection to spirit?
I have two. One, my golden retriever, he passed away in 2021, and he was my entire world. He was the last living thing I had of my dad before my dad passed away. Like it was his dog, and I inherited him. And so when my dog was, I knew he was very close to passing, and I was just so devastated when I had to put him down. And I came home to the empty apartment and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And this was 3 years ago because it was July of 2021. And I looked up at the sky and I said, angels, universe, God, if Gilly, my dog Golden, my golden Gilly, if Gilly is still around me, please send me a monarch butterfly. And I shit you not. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here, but not even 14 hours goes by and this baby monarch butterfly flew onto the patio. And I just started crying because I thought, oh my gosh, that's the sign right there. That's real. That was one thing where I knew spirit for sure was a connected source for me. And yeah, I bawled like a baby in that moment, but it felt reassuring and comforting at the same time. And another one was it was a few days before, let's see. So my dad, he passed away 12 years ago and he was really young. My dog ended up having cancer that he was very quick to pass. And so was my dad. He had cancer. And um I just remember he passed on a Wednesday, but it was Monday, and all day long the number 18 kept popping up around me for my eyes to see the number 18 all day. And this was on Monday. And Monday night, my mom and I were at the hospice care. And I said, Mom, I don't know what it is, but I see the number 18 everywhere. And that day, Monday, was the 16th. And I said, do you think Dad's going to pass away on the 18th? And she said, I don't know, maybe. And sure enough, it was Wednesday morning around 5 a.m., maybe close to 5:20 a.m. And it was Wednesday, the 18th. And I just went, oh my God, my dad just died. And then 5 minutes later, I get a phone call and he passed away. And I just thanked God and the angels. Thank you so much for like letting me know, because I kind of just I felt it in my intuition, but it for me that was again like another sign that yeah, you're right. Like you're connected. We hear you, we're communicating like and even though those were sad moments, it was, like I said, also comforting because it reassured me. But as far as intuition goes, I I did have a dream one night when I was sleeping that Bruce Springsteen pulled me up on stage during Dancing in the Dark, that song. And he in my dream, like he pulled me up on stage during the song and he started dancing with me. And I woke up in the morning and I was laughing because I was like, oh, pipe dream. I was like, wouldn't that be hilarious if that happened? I'm like laughing. And this was let's see, this was 2 years, no, 4 years after my dad passed. And I had tickets to go see Springsteen literally a month later to the day. And so that day arrived and It was a free concert and it was outdoors. So I got to the gates before they opened because I was gonna haul, ASS all the way to the front if I could. And it was rainy and cold that day. And I didn't care. I ran. I just busted it, right? I ran right to the front. And all day long, I didn't move. I didn't go to get food. I didn't get a drink. I didn't go to the bathroom. I stood there for 8 hours waiting for that man and his sweet band to come on stage. I was so elated the whole concert. And then, literally, during Dancing in the Dark, he freaking pulled me up on stage and started dancing with me. I don't know if he heard me because, it was so loud. But I told Mr. Springsteen, I was like, this literally happened in my dream like a month ago. I was like, you probably think I'm crazy, but it's true.
Oh, thank you for sharing those stories. And I'm so sad that you lost your dad and your dog, but it is true that they're always with us in spirit. So even though we can't see them physically the way we're used to seeing them, they are always there and they will give you signs. So maybe your dad even gave you that dream to get that ticket. Oh, love it.
I think he did. I really did. I called my mom because she likes Springsteen and she was 10th row. Like that was like the closest she ever got. I was like, Mom, you won't believe what happened. She's like, what? And I told her and she didn't believe me at first. And then I was like, no, for real. He really pulled me up on stage. And I was like, I think Dad helped me with this.
I could see that. And so funny. So I don't know if you can hear it, but when you were talking about your dad, there was like an audio feedback. It sounded like a low vibration. I'm like trying to figure out, like, I haven't heard that. And it happened actually when we first got on. Interesting. I think that's how spirit is showing up for you.
Maybe. I mean, I know that things happen. Like when my dad passed away for a good couple of months, there was some electronic stuff that kept.
I was going to say, pay attention to the electronics and to sounds because there is a sign coming through now regarding your dad sending you signs through electronic and sound connection. And what is one final piece of advice you have for listeners who are trying to improve their spiritual well-being?
Truly, I would make sure you get enough sleep. Sleep can truly not only help you with your physical body, but help you in your mental capacity so that way you can stay in alignment much easier.
Beautiful closing note. And where can our listeners go to learn more about you?
I would go to maniFASTing.com and everything is on my website. So my social media handles are there, the blogs. You can even opt into my free manifesting secrets that I still use to this day. You just put your name and email in there. It's totally free. And I email you every couple of days with my secrets that I use. And we also have the monthly newsletter with more manifesting tips, as well as like spirituality fun and writing tips and publishing tips. The website, themanifestit.com, is probably the best way to reach me. You can email me from there too.
Perfect. Now, before we end, I am pulling a card for each podcast guest and each episode. So I pulled yours and they're all resonating with what we're talking about or the person that is a guest. So you got the 10 of Pentacles, which is all about that beautiful abundance, material-wise, family-wise. And it's just perfect how it's connecting with you and your energy and your ability to manifest all of this abundance that you've manifested in your life. And so when I saw it, I was like, this is perfect.
That is so weird. You can't see me, but my jaw dropped when she showed it to me. My eyes bugged out like I Love Lucy. I was like, what? Yeah, because that's the card you want. I know the sun is also another card that you want, but that card is all about abundance and literally like whatever you want. Like you said, family, or in my case, yeah, it would be a blended family because I don't have kids. But yeah, being with like my soulmate and yeah, having the success and all. Yeah. So thank you for pulling that card. That's amazing.
It was the perfect card. And for everyone else listening, it's your reminder to focus on the abundance that you want to manifest and really be open to receiving, surrender, and you'll be rewarded.
Yeah.
So, Jaclyn, I loved having you on here. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoy the podcast and love to listen to it, subscribe, follow, or leave a review. You can connect with me on Instagram at live.and.breathe.reiki or on my website at liveandbreathereiki.com. Until next time, don't forget, when spirit talks, it's time to listen.